Welcome back, friends. In the series of Java core Java programming, we have covered, we have spent almost three hours in discussing different things of core Java, like naming conventions of core Java, features of core Java, and in the last video itself, we were talking about lexemes, we were talking about tokens, we are talking about identifiers, why we require identifier, what are the role of identifier in program, what are the different rule for setting up an identifier, and during all this session we have clearly gone through each and individual rules by using which we can happily create an identifier, and what identifier can contain, what it can contain. I think everything we have discussed very thoroughly. In case you missed that video, please go through that video and come back so that we can enjoy the next session, this continuing session. Right now, during that discussion, we have also covered entire 53 keywords of Java programming language. We have discussed every keyword. All the keywords we have quite thoroughly noted down that can be used for our future purpose. Now, and we have, during the discussion of the rules of identifier, I think I want to add one more point in the rules of identifier. That rule is very vital. Remember, this rule we might not able to give much explanation for this particular rule right now, because to understand this particular rule we might require some more knowledge of Java, more programming stuff of Java. But make sure you should have this point while defining the rules or while writing the rules for naming convention of an identifier or rules for creating an identifier. Make sure you write that rule is like the name of the identifier cannot be same in the same scope. Remember this point. You can ask me, sir, what is the scope? Why I use scope? We'll discuss this one very thoroughly after a couple of sessions, right? But this point is not closed here. We have still something to write. The name of the identifier cannot be same in the same scope, but in different scope, the identifier name can be duplicate. Remember this point. This is very good question for the interviewer room. But in different scope, the identifier can have same name, or you can say the identifier name can be duplicate. To understand this particular point, we need to understand what a scope is and how different scopes are applied to Java programming language. And prior to that, we need to understand what is the Java programming language structure. And still, since we are not able to cover all the fundamental stuffs of programming language, we cannot discuss that right now. But definitely we'll touch this point some way around. Don't worry about that. Just keep this point in mind, right? Now, with this, we come to close with all different rules and regulations of creating identifier in Java, right? Now, this is the first token that we have covered. In that scenario, not only identifier but also we have covered all the keywords. So two parameters have already been covered. Now, before going to the literals, before going to the operator, what I suggest, what exactly the requirement is, we should cover detail about data type so that we can able to understand all the literals. And once we are clear with all the literals, we can happily use that literal on operators and understand the operators in each and every aspect. And what we will do, will not only read the stuffs, we will go for full postmortem, right? So that you guys will get clear-cut clarity about all the things that we are going to read. Now, the next series or the session or the agenda for today's session is data type. We'll discuss broadly about data type. As you know, data type is a vital aspect not only for Java but also for any programming language. You talk about C, you talk about C++, you talk about .NET, you talk about PHP, any programming language you can talk about. Every programming language definitely should have data type, right? As well as in Java. But before getting into the details of the data types, I need to remind you few things so that we can apply those knowledge while declaring, defining, working with data types in Java. Right? Let's start with the first point I need to write here is, at some point of time we have clearly discussed Java is very strongly typed. I don't want to repeat the things why it is strongly typed. If you are missed that video, please go back to that video and come back so that we can discuss. Java is very strongly typed. This is number one. You should keep this in mind before getting into data type. Number two, the second point is every variable or expression in Java should have some type. When I say some type, means some data type, right? A variable could have some type that we can define, but trust me, when it comes to expression, we cannot define the type. Thing is, it will be automatically converted. Yes, we can define the type only if we are going for explicit type conversion. Don't worry about the terminology explicit. We will definitely come up with this, with the answer for this. Don't worry. Right. Let us understand what variable and what expressions are. When I write int a of 10, you can clearly see this particular variable has a data type called as integer. Similarly, if I am writing a plus b plus c, this is what called as an expression. If all the variables are of type int, we can say the result of this expression or the data type of this expression will be int. That's what I mean. Every expression, every variable should have a data type. In case you want to use any variable without a data type, that kind of story is not there in Java. Remember this point. And now the next question you might ask, so who is the person, who is the component there who is checking all this, who is confirming all this? Yes, good question. The answer to that question is your compiler. Java C is the compiler, right? Your Java compiler is responsible for type checking. Remember, this is very, very vital for the interview room. Java compiler is responsible for type checking. Or you can say, if you want to go technically, type checking can be called as type compatibility check. So type compatibility check is basically done by Java compiler. In case it found any issue with the type compatibility, immediately you will going to get an error message. Compiler error will 100% there. So once a program is submitted to Java compiler does lot of checking. Within that checking, one checking is for sure. That is what called a type checking. If you can recall, for this particular property, this is one of the property for which we call Java is a robust program. If you can recall, that's a very good feature of Java. Now keep all these three things in mind so that we can go for Java data type. Of course, there will be a lot of questions coming into your mind, sir. What is type checking? What is type compatibility check? How Java compiler goes through that? Before answering all those questions, it's my honest request to all of you, please go through. Please let us complete the entire data type first. Then we can understand which data type is compatible to which one. Right? We'll answer that question as the classes progresses. Right? In the data type series, if you divide the data type of Java into categories, it will fall into two categories. One is primitive. Of course, the second one is non-primitive. Okay. And the primitive data type, you can call this data type as basic data type or fundamental data type of Java. Both are correct, but the terminology, the original technical terminology is primitive type. I have done the spelling mistake. I'm very, very bad at spelling. Primitive type. And the second one is non-primitive. Why primitive is fundamental and non-primitive is not fundamental? Remember this point. Non-primitive are basically created with the help of primitive. The examples of non-primitive data types like array, like class, something like this. We'll go through in some other sessions, right? In primitive are the fundamental data types, right? We'll go through. If we further divide this from primitive types, it will fall into two categories: the data types which can hold numeric values and the data type which can hold non-numeric values. In non-numeric values cases, we have two data types. One is a character data type and the second one is Boolean. And in the numeric type, we have again two categories. Category number one, the data type which can hold only integral values or whole number values. And the other which can contain float values. Remember this point, 2 point. Okay. Now, in case of integral values, core Java or Java offers me few data types like byte, short, int and long. 4 data types it has given me. In case of float, we have 2 more data types. One data type is a float itself and the second one is double. Right. So can you please count out how many total data types are there? 4 plus 2 plus 2, 8. If you can recall, in the reserved word category, when we are declaring keywords for data type, we have 8 keywords. These are all 8. And we'll discuss each one of them very thoroughly. Don't worry. One point I want to add here. This numeric data type is also called as signed data type, because all these data types can contain either positive or negative. This too cannot contain positive and negative, right? So numeric also can be called as signed data type, or you can call it as numeric data type, right? For every data type, we need to answer few things. What is the first? This is common for all. We need to answer few things for every data type. The first question we want to answer is, what is the memory requirement for the specific data type? Number one. Second question we want to answer, what is the range of this data type? Number 3, what it cannot contain? These are few questions we definitely answer for each of the data type. What is the memory requirement for that? And what is the range it can contain? What is the maximum range it can contain? What is the minimum range it can contain? Next, we'll see what it cannot contain. And the fourth and the last one is how to declare that particular data type in Java. So these 4 questions will definitely answer for each of the data type, right? So without wasting time, let us start. For byte data type, point number 1. As the things are discussed, the first requirement is byte data type requires 1 byte of memory. It requires, or the size of the data type is 1 byte. 1 byte means, you can happily say sir, 1 byte means how many bits? It is completely 8 bits. That means once I declare a byte variable, immediately 1 byte of space will be reserved, which is again divided into 8 bits. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. 0 to 7, total 8 bits. Total 8 bits will be reserved in memory. First point is clear. Now the second point. What is the range? What is the value it can contain? What is the minimum value it can contain? What is the maximum value it can contain? Before answering that question, let us understand few things. As we are discussing here, a byte variable always, or byte data type always take 1 byte in memory, that is equal to 8 bits, right? Now you will definitely agree with me, just we have discussed, as per our discussion, all these are 1 bit. All these cells are 1 bit, and every cell can contain one of the 2 values from this, not anything else. Since all these are bits, it can contain either 0 or it can contain 1. It cannot contain anything else because these are bit. These are not anything else. It can only contain bits. Bits means either 0 bit, or bit means binary digit. It can either contain 0 or contain 1, right? Next. Previously, Previously I have declared one point. All the data types belongs to numeric, they are positive, or they can store positive numbers, they can store negative numbers. Now you can ask me, sir, you said this particular type can contain positive or negative. Again, you said whenever we are reserving memory requirement for this particular data type, it will take 8 bits and all the bits can contain 0 and 1. Now the biggest doubt in my mind is, if all the cell contains 0 and 1, how can you recognize a particular number is positive or negative? Excellent question, right? Now, to understand this particular one, remember the last bit, mean the 8th bit or 7th cell, 8th bit is called as most significant bit. Remember this point. This is called as most significant bit. What that does mean? This is again called as, you can also call this as sign bit. Means this particular cell can contain sign, right? As per our discussion, this cell can contain 0 or it can contain 1. Remember this point. If this particular cell contains 0, the number will be treated as positive. If it will be contained as it will contain 1, the number will be negative. Keep this particular thing in mind. So the last bit, which is called as most significant bit, can contain same 0 and 1, but 1 here does not represent value, rather it represents sign. 1 represents negative, 0 represents positive. I think you are clear about 1 bit. Right, 1 bit is sacrificed for sign bit. This is not a value bit. Remember that point. Apart from 1, how many bits we have? 7 bits. Now, if I put 1 in each cell, from 0 and 1, which is maximum? 1 is maximum. If I put 1 in each cell, then you will agree with me, this is the maximum value a byte can contain. A byte cannot contain any value beyond this, isn't it? So let's see what is the total value we can calculate. That means if I write the numbers in binary, I find 7 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is in binary number. If I convert this one into decimal, you will say that is the maximum number. And all of you, I hope all of you know how to convert a binary into decimal. In case you don't know, it's very easy. It's very easy. See the position, we are going on writing something like this from 0 to right to left, from 0 to onwards. The first one says 1 into 2 to the power the position 0. Again 1, 2 to the power 1 plus 1 into 2 to the power 2 plus again 1 into 2 to the power 3, something like that, and it will go on and on for 1 into 2 to the power 7. If you calculate the entire one, 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8, and if you calculate the total one, trust me, or if you can calculate, it will fall into the range 127. It will fall into the range 127, right? That means one thing is for sure, the maximum value it can contain is 127. Done. Now, what about the minimum value? Before going into the minimum value, we need to remember one more point. Let us write all those points, then we'll go through the second and third line. What we have discussed here, number 2, maximum range it can contain is 127, we have calculated. Number 3, the most significant bit contains what it contains? Most significant bit contains 1 or 0, means 1 refers to a positive number and 0 refers to a, no, I got it wrong. 1 is negative and 0 is positive. I'm sorry, this is right, this is the right one. Right. Now the most significant bit always represents sign bit. So you can write the most significant bit contain 1 and 0, which means that this one. Or it can contain 1 or 0, but what it represents, it always represents sign bit. Now, after then, we are talking about the minimum number. Before going into the minimum number, one more point you need to remember. That point is all the negative numbers are stored in 2's complement form. 2's complement form in the memory. Remember this point. All the positive numbers you can directly store in memory. What that does mean, let us understand. Suppose I want to store, I am writing byte b is equal to 5. You know 5 is positive. I have not written anything. Let us see how 5 is represented in memory. You can understand. Now if I convert 5 into binary, 2 2s are 4, remainder 1. Again 2 1s are 2, this is 0. So the value is 101. So can I write 101? How many bits? 3 bits. Remaining how many bits are there? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now this is how the decimal number 5 is represented in memory. This 0 says positive number and all these numbers are directly, all these zeros and ones are stored in memory directly. Since 5 is calculated to 101 in binary, this is stored something like this. So positive numbers stored directly in memory, right? But in case of negative numbers, listen very carefully. In case of negative numbers, let us understand how these are stored. And as per the discussion, it is always stored in 2's complement form. In 2's complement form. If you want a proof, I can give you proof. Don't worry. Let us understand first. How to do that? First point. Find the binary equivalent of 5. What is the binary equivalent of 5? You will say, sir, it is 5 zeros. We have just calculated, right? 1 0 1. This is binary equivalent of 5. Then find out 1's complement of 5. How we can find 1's complement? All the 0 becomes 1, all the 1 becomes 0. Now can I write 1 1 1 1 1 here? 0 1 and 0. This is 1's complement form of 5. Remember, we are talking about 2's complement. For 2's complement, you have to add 1 in 1's complement. Now what will be the answer? 1 1 0 and 5 ones, 1 2 3 4 5. Now this is how your minus 5 is stored in memory. But if I talk about 5 will be stored directly this way in memory. I hope you understood the difference between these two. How minus 5 is stored and 5 is stored. Minus 5 is always stored in which format? 2's complement format. But 5 is stored always directly in binary normal format in the memory. Keep this in mind, right? Now as you can see, we have just discussed before, the most significant bit contains 1. 1 means negative number. So this number is now negative. Now you can tell me, sir, if this is 2's complement number, suppose somebody has given me this number. How can I confirm this is 5? How can I confirm this is 5? What is the method to calculate this, convert this one into decimal point? If the most significant bit is 1, I repeat, if the most significant bit is 1, this is a negative number. First conclusion. Second conclusion, to convert this 2's complement format into binary, we will follow, there are a lot of methods, but we will follow a shortcut method. What that one is? Rule number 1 or step number 1. Can you please locate all the 0 that is present in that location? Number 1. All the zeros, we are not concerned about ones, we are concerned about zeros. For positive number, we are concerned about ones. For negative numbers, we are concerned about zeros. Now you can say, sir, yes, I can see there is 1 0. At which position? At third position, right? So if you could able to find all the zeros there, what you can do, you need to arrange them in this order. Put a minus sign first, put your open bracket. Now in what position 0 is there? You will say, sir, in third position. Immediately you should write 2 raised to the power, sorry, this is the position 2, after 1 this is 2, what you are talking. You can say, since it is in second position, 0, 1, 2 position, what we can do? We can write like minus 2 to the power 2 followed by minus 1. This is the shortcut method. Remember this point. This will be minus 4 and minus 1. The answer will be minus 5. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay. Let's talk about one more example, then we'll move ahead. If you could able to understand this byte, then integer, short and long will be only 2 minutes away from this discussion, right? Remember what we are talking about. We are talking about one more example. Suppose I am talking about minus 7. I want to know how minus 7 is represented. You can say, sir, for minus 7, why don't you calculate its equivalent binary? And the binary will form as, if you calculate 7, 2 3s are 6, sorry, 2 3s are 6, there is 1, 2 1s are 2, this is 1. So it will be 1 1 and 1. So 5 zeros, 1 1 1. Now this is binary equivalent of 7, right? Next one, one's complement. If I have to find out one's complement, all the zeros becomes 1, all the ones becomes 0. Then 2's complement, add 1 here. So the answer will be 1 1 1 1 1, 0 0 and 1. So this is how minus 7 is stored in memory. Now let us calculate, if this is stored in memory, what will be the value in decimal? That is what we are talking about, right? Now the first rule, can you please locate all the zeros? All the zeros, you will say 0 is present at location number 1 as well as in location number 2. Done. Now we are coming to the shortcut. Put a minus here, open bracket. Now tell me where zeros are located. So you will say, sir, at the first position, immediately 2 to the power 1. At the second position, immediately plus 2 to the power 2. Close. Then minus 1. So now what will be the answer? 2 plus 4. This is 6 and minus 1. If you add minus 6 minus 1, the answer will be minus 7, right? So clear about this point, how negative numbers are stored in memory. Now, why I am telling all this? Because if you could able to understand this, we can able to calculate the minimum value. For calculating the minimum values, similarly, what we can do? We can go like this. Definitely minimum values, most significant bit will be minus, because 0 cannot be minimum. Minus 1, since minus numbers, negative numbers are there, I cannot say 0 is the minimum number. If I put 1 here and remaining zeros in all the cells, then that will give me minimum value, right? And how to convert that one? Same procedure, because from position number 0 to position number 7, all are zeros. So we can go like 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, up to 2 to the power 7. Again minus 1. If you calculate this one, this will fall into minus 127 and this will be minus 1. Finally, the answer will be minus 128. So the minimum range is how much? Minus 128. So the entire range is minus 128 to plus 127, right? So we are concluding about this point. So what we can do, we can write it right here. If that is the maximum range, the minimum range is minus 128, right? So now we have discussed almost all the points about byte. What it cannot contain? It cannot contain a decimal value. It can't contain a decimal value. Keep this in mind. Keep this particular thing in mind, right? Now you definitely you can ask me, sir, if the number of bytes will be more, don't you think this the way of calculating things? Okay, we understand what you have said, we understand how to calculate, but don't you think every time we calculate the entire number, we calculate the entire things will be very, very difficult? Yes, you all are absolutely right. To find a shortcut, remember, let me tell you the process, how we can write, how we can remember the range. Remember, since the total memory consumption is 8 bytes, immediately you say, sir, 1 byte is reserved for sign bit. Now, we are not considering this one. Remaining are 7. Immediately you can say the range is minus 2 to the power, the range is minus 2 to the power 7 to 2 to the power 7 minus 1. If you calculate this, 2 to the minus 2 to the power 7 is minus 128 to 127. So either you can remember the range, or you can easily apply your knowledge to find out this. Minus 2 to the power 7 to 2 to the power 7 minus 1, right? I think you got a much clarity about this. 8 bits, use 7, right? And remaining all, we'll see to that. Then the next $1 million question you can ask me, sir, we understood what a byte can contain. Now, can you please tell me how in Java, how we can able to represent byte? Things are very simple. By using the keyword byte itself, I can write byte a equals to 120, no problem at all. It can declare a byte variable with a constant with a literal 120, right? In case you are writing any range beyond this 128, definitely a person is sitting there. She will say, hey man, what you are doing? I have only restricted you to use 127, but you are using 128. So compiler will produce an error. Compiler error. Exactly what error? Error will say possibly lossy conversion from int to byte. 128 is an integer constant. It cannot be converted into byte. So this is the kind of error you are going to get. Clear? Now let us demonstrate. Let us see all these factors. We'll see how byte can be declared. We'll see everything into that, right? Let us create a Java program. Now, suppose I am writing byte a is equal to 120. Now, fine. Let me compile this. Since this one is exactly within the range, we don't think there should be any problem. Java compiler say, boss, you are absolutely right. Your byte variable can contain up to 127, and you have supplied 120. So I don't have a problem. It perfectly compiles a file. Compiler will says no problem at all, no errors at all. Now, by mistake, if you are writing anything that is beyond 127, let's see what your Java compiler say. Java compiler says, boss, you cannot write like that. What it says? Incompatible type, possibly lossy conversion from int to byte. This is one int constant. It cannot be converted into byte. Everything in Java is very clearly mentioned. You need to only read the error message. Those are very, very vital, right? What it clearly say, you cannot write an integer constant or a value which is more than the range of byte here, right? 1. Even if I am trying to write byte b is equal to 12.40, the same error we are going to get. Only difference is it will say from double to byte. This is a double constant. This is a decimal constant. Number with decimal point. This is a decimal constant. And what you cannot do, you cannot write a decimal constant or double constant into byte variable. So make sure whenever you are using byte variable, you are following all the rules. Not only this, if in case you are trying to store a boolean literal, same story is there. Boolean cannot be converted to byte. Same story, right? So make sure you know all these points. In case at any point of time, if you are trying to write like this, 100% pakka, you are going to get an error message without any problem. Happily, you will get an error message. So make sure you are obeying all the rules. And who is producing this error? Your Java compiler only producing this error. And when we are getting this error, we are only getting this error at the time of Java compilation. Whenever we say we are compiling the program, Java C, by writing Java C, immediately it will give me the answer. So Java C is your Java compiler. Remember this particular error, for this particular error, the only responsible person is your compiler, right? Now, by the time of discussion, you all have might got the clear-cut clarity about the byte type. Byte, how many memory it is required, what is the maximum minimum value, what it can, what is about most significant bit, negative number stored in 2's complement format in the memory, and it cannot contain decimal number. I think all these different aspects we have covered about byte, right? And if this is so, if you could able to understand the entire thing of byte, then you can happily go on calculating things for short, things for integer, and things for long. I'll only need to tell the memory requirement. The only difference between all these four data types are range. Remaining all are same. A short variable will contain, or short data type will contain some more values than byte. Remaining all are exactly same. The only difference is in point number 1, point number 2, and point number 5. Remaining everything is same, right? Why it is there? Because of memory requirement, right? If I'll say sort will take how many bytes? 2 bytes. And if I say sort will be 2 bytes, immediately you will say, sir, since you are saying 2 bytes, it is definitely 16 bits. And since sort requires 16 bits in memory, we can sacrifice 1 bit for most significant bit, which will contain the sign bit. So you can say, sir, happily the range will be, the range of the sort variable is definitely will be -2 to the power 15 to 2 to the power 15 minus 1. I think I don't need to give much explanation for this. We have already explained this, why the range will be coming like this. And if you calculate this particular one, the range will be -32768 to 32767. Don't worry, you don't have to remember the range. Only if you could able to understand, we can represent is this one in this format. This is absolutely fine, no problem at all, right? Now the range is clear. And why the range is much? Because we are using a 16-bit memory. But here in case of byte, we were using a 8-bit memory. That's why the range is small. Here the range is more. Similarly, remaining all points are same. Remaining all the points, most significant bit will contain same. All the negative numbers will be there in memory, will be there in 2's complement. Everything else is same, only difference is the range, because the memory requirement is more. Similarly, if I talk about integer, integer will require 4 bytes. Same story, you will say 4 bytes means how many bits? 32 bits. If we are reserving 1 bit for sign bit, then you will say the range will be definitely 2 minus 2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31 minus 1. Don't worry, we'll see this range. You don't have to calculate. If you want to calculate, please go on calculating. I am not interested in calculating for this one, right? Now, range is final and remaining all are final. Only difference between int, sort, byte is in the range because of different memory requirements. Similarly, for long, I require 8 bytes. 8 bytes mean you will say, sir, this is 64 bits. If these are 64 bits, now you can happily say what will be the range. I don't have to give much explanation for this. So the range will be definitely, yes, same. -2 to the power 63 to 2 to the power 63 minus 1. This is the range for long variable. Now, the common thing about all these 4 data types, like byte, sort, int, and long, all these are, for all these 2 points, 2 things are common. One, the most significant bit of this one contains a sign bit. Either it is 1 or it is 0. 1 is negative, 0 is positive. Don't get confused. 1 always represents negative, 0 always represents positive. Doesn't matter which computer system you are using. Is Java is installed, Java is following this particular notation. No confusion should be there at all. And all the negative numbers in Java stored in 2's complement format. You don't have to bother about that. The entire Java compiler or JVM, all of them will take care of this. You don't have to worry about that. And these two, not only three, point number 3, point number 4, and point number 6, all these three are common in all these data types. Only difference in these data types are in range, because different memory requirements are there. So definitely you will ask me, sir, if I'll take long as a whole, I can happily store a smaller number, I can happily store a larger number, I can happily store a very large number. Why all these data types are there? Let me say, different data types are there for different uses. When I require a number within 127, why should I waste 8 byte of memory when my requirement is 1 byte? So this is what called as efficient memory management. So you have to select the correct data type, appropriate data type that is close to your requirement. Unnecessarily, please don't take a data type which is much more bigger than your requirement. That will lead to wastage of memory. That is not good programming practice. So before taking any data type, make sure you have selected the correct one, right? So not only that, for that reason, byte, sort, int are there. Byte, sort, int, and long, they have their own requirements. Requirements like maybe whenever we are working over internet or working on a network, whenever we are sending files across a network, remember, while sending files across a network, it is always in bytes, on byte. It is not in integer, because the architecture and all the rules regulations are follow this one. So for that, this is the best option. This is the best option. And sort is a kind of data type which is used rarest of rare, very rarest of rare. And integer is the maximum requirement. And in case you require some value more than this range, you can go for long, right? Now in the last, what we'll see, let us see what are the different size told by your compiler. We'll see how what exactly your compiler says about the different memory requirement of all the types and what is the range of all the types. With that, we'll conclude this session, right? Only 2-3 minutes away. Let us go for that. Let us go for that. Let us write that program. That program is like, let us go for the same program. We'll change the content of that program, right? See, for that we need to import a file. Don't worry, we'll learn everything. For your knowledge sake, for confirmation sake, proof sake, I am writing this program. java.lang.star. The intention of this program to make you confirm the rules or the range of integer type, range of byte type and all. I'm doing one of the type, remaining you need to calculate. I'm writing system.out.print or maybe println. I'm writing here integer dot, I'm writing size. If in the naming convention, if you can recall, we have discussed all the predefined literals are in capital letters. So size is in capital letter, means size is what? Size is a predefined literal, right? Then I'll write mean value. I'll write mean value. I'll write max value. Next, only these things I got to know. This is all about integer. Let's see what happens. Java C test.java. Now let's see what my compiler says. Compiler says compiles fine. Let us execute the program. Now let us see. See, the size requirement is 32 bits. This is the minimum range and this is the maximum range. Now I hope you got it. And if you want to cross check, what we can do, we can change this integer from integer to byte. Here integer to byte. Okay, let's see. It should say 8 as the memory requirement. Minimum is -128, maximum is 127. This is what we have discussed exactly. -28 is the minimum, maximum is 128. So if somebody asks me the range of this one, what I'll say? The range is from 120 minus 128 to plus 127. Or in the next, in the different notation, I can say minus 2 to the power 7 to 2 to the power 7 minus 1. Either this or this. So this concludes. If you are able to understand this, we are just completing the data types which can hold all the whole number values, all the integral values with it. In the next video, we'll concentrate on floating point values, right? So thank you so much for joining us. In the next session, we'll continue with float values. Thank you so much for joining.